Okay.
Hello. And hello there. 'Cause I'm part of the audience.
There you go. Okay. So
Okay.
just imagine your first living child you deliver your first living child via C-section at 36 weeks. She comes out blue at first and starts crying after a few minutes. She's a little butterball though, weighing 9 pounds 10.2 ounces. Little turkey butt. You see her for a few seconds before they take her down to the NICU. You're sitting in the post-op room with your husband, your mom, and a couple of friends. In comes a nurse from the NICU, saying she has Down syndrome. You didn't know this until she was born. Saying that she also has holes in her heart, and they're going to transfer her to a different hospital because of possible heart failure. Not what you want to hear at first after having lost 2 children and then having her. So the next morning the doctor comes in and says, we're going to transfer her to the other hospital. We're like, okay, fine. I left the hospital early because of this. And now she's 6, going on 7 sometimes. So I want to tell you about the pros and cons of having early intervention services for children with Down syndrome. I'll talk about the 3 different therapies that are offered: speech, occupational, and physical therapy. I want you to understand how important these services are to get started as soon as possible, and to be able to tell anyone that you may know or meet in the future of how important they are. As stated on parents.com, early intervention services should begin shortly after birth and usually continues until they reach the age of 3. Then they go into school. The time that you invest in those first few years is beyond vital because when your children are young, that's when they learn the most, and they're like little sponges. Journey had therapy from the time she was 4 days old in the NICU, even though she was in there for 26 days. Our friend JJ is the exact same age as Journey, and he didn't have any early intervention services. Journey, lost track of where I was.
Well, JJ also has Down. I don't know. Did you mention he also has Down syndrome as well?
He does have Down syndrome. Journey would get early intervention services even after she was released from the NICU. She'd go back to the hospital once a week for all of her services. As stated on the National Down Syndrome Society NDSS website about how important speech services are children for Down syndrome. Even though babies with Down syndrome may not say their first words until the age of 2 or 3 years old, there are many pre-speech and pre-language skills that they must acquire before they can form their first words. This is very true. JJ is 6 and still only babbles like a baby. He doesn't say any words yet or use any sign language. Journey has been talking since she was about 2 years old. She may not have typical 6-year-old speech, but she has pretty advanced speech for someone with Down syndrome and does know signs when she wants to. Physical therapy is important for children with Down syndrome because they have low muscle tone and need to learn how to do things the right way. The NDSS says, quote, physical therapy focuses on motor development. For example, during the first 3 to 4 months of life, an infant is expected to gain head control and the ability to pull from a sitting position with no head legs and enough strength in the upper torso to maintain an erect posture. Journey started sitting at about 8 months old and started crawling about 10 months old and hasn't stopped since. JJ didn't crawl until he was about 2.5 or 3 years old. Journey started walking at 16 months old, and JJ started walking with an assisted walker when they went into school when they were 3, because it was required for the school district in Vegas, and then started walking unassisted when he's about 4.5 or 5 years old, but he still uses a stroller when they go out to places and just for walks around the neighborhood, whereas Journey, she won't even sit down in a shopping cart. We can go to the store.
She just knows run.
Yes.
Only one thing, run.
Occupational therapy, in my opinion, happens to be the hardest behind speech. This is when you need to learn control like fine motor skills. The NDSS says about OT is occupational therapy can be help with abilities such as opening and closing things, picking up things, releasing various shapes and sizes, stacking and building, manipulating knobs and buttons, experimenting with crayons. Therapists also can help children how to learn to feed themselves and to dress themselves. Journey has had so much early intervention. She likes to color. She tries to draw, as example by her legs today. And her cutting skills in the last 6 months have exploded to where she loves to cut all the time now.
Oh, well, don't forget brushing the teeth.
Yes, and brushing her teeth.
She's great at it.
Now that Journey and JJ are in school, where he's still in school in Las Vegas and she's in school up here in Cuna, you can really see the differences. JJ is in first grade this year because of where their birthdays fall from in Las Vegas, and he's in a completely special education school and no typical peers. It is all for special needs kids. Journey's in a typical school with typical peers and spends most of her time in general education with assistance from the resource room when needed, and gets to model after her peers and spend time with her typical peers. So I want to remind you not to be afraid of children with Down syndrome. They're not really much different than you and I. They can talk, they can walk, they can ride a bike, they can have a job and go to school. They need a little extra help, and the sooner you start these early services, the better it'll be for them. So remember, always make a friend because they're kind of cute. Thank you.
Oh, only 5.5.
It's only 5.5.
Yes, 5.5.
Here, I'll show you. So this is a chart showing Down syndrome versus typical children, and then Journey versus JJ. I chose most of the typical big events. So crawling, your first one here is a Down syndrome low side, and then the high side, and then Journey versus JJ. So like when you look at walks alone, you have Journey down here at between 15 and 20 months, and you have JJ all the way up here because he just started learning how to walk. And then for the first words, you can see that Journey is way down here, about 2 years old, and then JJ's up here because he still hasn't started talking. His mom's always tried with him. He's a great kid, but it's just that lack of not getting early services and not pushing him. When we were in Las Vegas, there was a play group at the Down Syndrome Association there, and it was once a week, and all it was just a big group of all of us that were the same age, and we had one lady come in who was an RN, and she basically went around to each of the kids and played with them for a few minutes. That was basically the only therapy he got when he was that age. And really she really didn't do much with them. She wasn't a licensed therapist or anything. Right. So, and it makes a huge difference. And now Journey still gets therapy once a week for speech and occupational therapy. But JJ doesn't get any services unless it's in the school district. So he doesn't feed. He still eats baby food. He won't feed anything himself. His mom has to feed him everything. So whereas Journey can just put down the food and walk away.
She's good to go with food.
She is good to go with food.
Oh, yeah. We eat lunch together.
Yes, and crayons and markers. And JJ won't try to color. He won't try to use markers or scissors. It was really interesting because for their third birthday, we had their birthday party combined together, and it was interesting because we had a bounce house, and so JJ would just sit in the bounce house, whereas Journey would actually bounce in the bounce house. So it was actually kind of interesting.
Okay.